What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about 5 different UFC fighters who had perfect performances. Now today I understand that there was a multitude of other fighters that have great performances, damn near perfect performances, but I'm only going to narrow down to 5 different fights by 5 different fighters because I don't want to make this an hour-long video. Pretty much these performances are pretty much near to perfect. Like literally they took no damage. This fighter, was pretty much executed the game plan pretty much damn near to a T. And everything went their way in these fights, okay? So let's go ahead and get right into it. The number 1 fight that I want to talk about is Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway, the trilogy, the 3rd fight. Obviously, with Alexander Volkanovski fighting this Saturday at UFC 294, I wanted to talk about this fight. This fight, to me, is the best performance that Volkanovski has ever had in his entire career. I understand that Korean Zombie, he pretty much had a perfect performance in this fight too, in that fight as well. But in this fight, I mean, you're going up against Max Holloway, who is in contention for probably the greatest featherweight of all time. You've had a long rivalry between this guy. The first fight, you definitely won it, and then it was a pretty competitive fight in the second one. But in this fight, he showed who the better fighter is, and Alexander Volkanovski proved that he was a better fighter than Max Holloway in this fight. He dominated. He didn't even try to take him down. He didn't even do any of that. I mean, he pieced him up on the feet for 5 rounds and won every single round. Barely got hit. I mean, Max Holloway's face was all beat up. It was like, dude, I was shocked when the fight was going on. I was like, dude, this is a complete domination. It's not even close whatsoever. I mean, Max Holloway did not really get anything off whatsoever. Yes, did he land shots on Volk? Yes, but Volk was landing 5 times more in every single round. And I mean, he 50-45. Now you can probably argue maybe a 10-8 in one of the rounds. I mean, that's how dominant it was for Alexander Volkanovski. And we thought that Max is a better striker than Alexander Volkanovski. We all thought that. We all thought that Max was the dominant striker, the more dominant striker, but then Volk shut everybody up and he was like, no, I'm the best striker and probably the best striker in the UFC. And he proved that against Max Holloway in the trilogy fight. So that is my number 1 fight. The second fight I want to talk about is Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira. Now, with Islam fighting also Alexander Volkanovski at UFC 294, I want to talk about Islam. This fight was perfect for Islam. The first round, he pretty much proved that he can definitely strike with Charles Oliveira. I thought that Charles had the clear striking edge in my honest opinion, but when it came down to it, Islam looked like the better striker. And then in the second round, he was able to catch him with a hook and pretty much take him out easily and made Charles Oliveira tap in the second round. I understand that this was not that long of a fight, but I mean, the game plan was executed for Islam Makhachev. He got out of there quickly and pretty much took no damage whatsoever. I mean, Charles Oliveira couldn't really get anything going throughout this fight whatsoever. Islam Makhachev was able to just dominate him and was able to, take him down. He was able to then knock him down and then able to finish him and submit him early on, I believe, in the second round. Beautiful performance from Islam. I mean, to me, this is the peak Islam performance because he did it on the grandest stage. He did it in Abu Dhabi last year, and he did it in front, obviously, of all the, everybody was rooting for him to win the championship, and it was an amazing moment, even though I wanted Charles Oliveira to win. I can't knock the fact that Islam looked dominant in this fight, and it showed, he showed that he is the best lightweight in the world in this fight, in my honest opinion. This was an amazing performance from him. And obviously his next fight against Volk was not perfect by any means, by any stretch of the means. He did win the fight, but it was not a perfect performance. But this fight right here was picture perfect for Islam Makhachev. At the number 3 is Conor McGregor versus Eddie Alvarez. Conor McGregor in 2016 was peak Conor McGregor. This was the best Conor McGregor that we'd ever gotten in history. This was the best. This was peak McGregor. And in this fight, I mean, bro, everything went his way. He kept knocking down Eddie Alvarez. He put his hands behind his back and he was landing jabs. I mean, the confidence of Conor McGregor was absolutely astounding. I mean, and all the shit that he talked before the fight even happened. And the way he was able to back all of that up against Eddie Alvarez was stellar. I mean, bro, absolutely unbelievable. There's a lot of people downing Conor McGregor going into this fight. I was a little nervous for Conor going into this fight too, because I knew that Eddie Alvarez was a great fighter. I watched tape before watching that fight, and I was like, damn, dude, Eddie Alvarez is kind of good. And he made Eddie Alvarez look like an amateur in that ring. I mean, bro, it was absolutely an amazing performance. He kept dropping Eddie Alvarez. He dropped him, I believe, a few times in the first round. And then in the second round, he was obviously that perfect, talk about a perfect combination. The combination that ended the fight was absolutely unreal. Absolutely stellar performance. And he did it to become the double champion, the first ever double champion in the UFC. That right there was the best Conor McGregor, and we will never see that Conor McGregor ever again, and that is the sad fact right there. We will never see a performance like that from Conor McGregor. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we can see, a really good performance when he does come back. I hope he does come back, because he is in the testing pool right now. And right now, we will never see that Conor McGregor. Conor was literally on something. His striking was top tier. He was trying all types of kicks in that fight. I remember he did like a side body kick to Eddie Alvarez. It was just insane. This was karate stance McGregor. This was the best McGregor that we've ever seen in the octagon. And he did it on the grandest stage in Madison Square Garden against Eddie Alvarez to become the double champion in the lightweight division and the featherweight division. What an amazing performance. One of my favorite fights to go back and watch, because it's literally probably one of my favorite performances of all time. I'm actually going to add one more fight because I forgot to mention this fight, to put this in my notes. So I'm going to mention another fight. But at number 4 is Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. I mean, is there anything to be said? If you watch this fight, this was a 50-42? One of the judges gave it a 50-42. It was a complete domination from Max Holloway, where the fight could have been stopped in a multitude of occasions in the 3rd round and in the 4th round, and possibly even in the 5th round too. I mean, this was a complete beatdown, and Calvin Kattar had a little bit of hype going into this fight. Obviously Max Holloway losing his belts, he went into this fight and pretty much proved that he's one of the best strikers in the UFC. And it made it seem like he was the best striker in the UFC. The way he was just completely just destroying Calvin Kattar. Calvin Kattar looked like a complete fucking mess after this fight. I mean, Dana White was so concerned. He had him straight go to the hospital. Calvin Kattar had to go to the hospital immediately after this fight just to make sure that everything is okay with him. You know what I mean? It was a domination in this fight. I remember going back, I watched this fight live, and it was on ABC. I'm like, holy shit. This Max Holloway. When I saw this fight, I was like, dude, Max Holloway is going to become the champion once again. There's no way that he loses again after I saw this fight. Obviously, that did not go as planned because he did lose his next fight. He lost his next fights against Alexander Volkanovski, but that's besides the point. I thought that Max Holloway was going to be the champion, though, after this fight, because he looked like a straight killer in the fucking ring. I mean, I remember he was yelling at the commentary table, saying that he's the best striker in the UFC, and he wasn't even looking at Calvin Kattar. He ducked his head away, and he was able to pretty much not get hit by Calvin Kattar while not even looking at him. I mean, bro, he went insane. One of the greatest performances in the history of the sport, 100%. I have to give it to Max Holloway. This was a fantastic performance. Number 5 is Kamaru Usman versus Tyron Woodley, another guy that's fighting this Saturday. Another fantastic performance from Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman has a lot of great performances in his career, but to me, this is the top one because this is when he became the welterweight champion. I feel like this was my introduction to Kamaru Usman. I did not know anything about Kamaru Usman before going into this fight. Call me a casual. I don't give a shit. I don't care. This was, I believe, the same fight card that Anthony Smith fought John Jones in the main event. This was the co-main event. And I actually picked Kamaru Usman to win. I did watch a little bit of tape of him, and it looked like he was a grappler. I was like, okay, maybe this guy actually looks pretty good, and his record is pretty solid. I believe at this point in time he was like 16 or 17-1 or something like that. I mean, he had a really good record. And I'm like, you know what? I might pick Kamaru Usman. Now, I didn't see too much of him, but I still picked him to win. But my God, I mean, this was a complete beatdown, a complete domination as well. I mean, Tyron Woodley looked defeated after this fight was over. It was complete domination from round 1 to round number 5. Woodley did not even have a chance to do anything in this fight. I mean, I don't know what the hell was going on with Woodley. This was pretty much the fall off for Tyron Woodley. Like, Tyron Woodley after this was not the same person. I mean, this fight changed Tyron Woodley for the worst, honestly, in my honest opinion. And Kamaru Usman did that to him, man. I mean, he completely shut him down in every sense of the word, out-grappled him, out-struck him. He did everything. I mean, it was an amazing performance. And I was like, damn, this Kamaru Usman guy, he might be a champion for a minute. I ain't gonna lie. And he was. He was a champion from this point on, from 2019 to 2022. So he was a champion for well over 3 years. So he had a very dominant title reign. And this fight right here, I mean, I think this definitely put him on the map 100% because he did become the champion. But, yeah, I mean, dude, Kamaru Usman, salute to him for this fight because this was a fantastic performance. And it's not like it was, to me, it was not even boring in the slightest. I think this was a fantastic performance and very entertaining. I was just in complete shock that Woodley did not get anything off. I thought Woodley was going to be able to at least maybe had some moments in this fight, but he had like no moments whatsoever. Kamaru Usman shut everything down that Tyron Woodley tried to do. And it was a great performance, and it showed that he was the best welterweight in the world at that time. So, yeah. I'm going to add this fight. I forgot to add this fight. This is my 6th fight. It's going to be Cody Garbrandt versus Dominick Cruz. I can't leave a fight like this off this type of list. That, to me, might be the greatest performance in the history of the sport. It might be. I honestly, genuinely believe it. I think that out of all the performances that I talked about, I think this right here, Cody versus Dominick Cruz, is number 1. I mean, Cody Garbrandt looked like the greatest bantamweight to ever grace the earth when he fought Dominick Cruz. I mean, the sheer confidence, the sheer swagger he had. I mean, he kept dropping Dominick Cruz. He obviously unorthodox Dominick Cruz who's really hard to hit. Even though I understand his last fight he got KO'd, but I mean, that was old Dominick Cruz. This is a Dominick Cruz who's still pretty good at the time. And Cody Garbrandt went into that fight, barely got hit, and Dominick Cruz did nothing to Cody Garbrandt in the slightest. I mean, Cody showed fantastic. He had some great takedowns in this fight as well. His striking was on a whole nother level. One of the greatest striking performances in the history of the sport. Absolutely sensational performance. I think this is the performance that made people really like Cody Garbrandt. Even though Cody Garbrandt at times could be obviously a little bit of a cringy figure if you've seen some clips of him outside of the octagon, and obviously his trash talk is not fantastic in the slightest, to be quite honest with you. But this fight right here, I think a lot of people started to open up about Cody Garbrandt, and this fight was fantastic. What a great performance. And it sucks that this was his only championship win for him in the UFC. Absolutely just gutted that, obviously we know what's going on with Cody Garbrandt now. I mean, he did win his last fight, but we will never, like I said, with Conor McGregor, we will never see a performance like this from Cody Garbrandt, ever, ever. This is peak Cody Garbrandt, but man, what a performance. What an amazing just display of striking. We will never see something like this. I don't think we'll ever see something like this ever again. I mean, I could be wrong, obviously. Obviously, anything is possible at this point. But, yeah, what a fantastic performance. I mean, go back and watch this fight. And I'm telling you right now, that is a perfect performance, or near perfect performance from Cody Garbrandt. But that is my 6 fights that I wanted to talk about. Thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace out.